Welcome to the OH Show with Orlana, your connection to events, topical interests, issues, and the movers and shakers in our world, and the opportunity to learn things that make you say, oh. Right now, many people are feeling unsettled. Careers are shifting, relationships are evolving. The pace of change feels relentless. In the middle of uncertainty, author Dr. W. Franklin Richardson offers a grounded and timely perspective through his new book, Never Lost. Dr. Richardson, welcome to the OH Show.
Well, I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So let's dive right in. Why does uncertainty feel so unsettling for so many people right now?
Because our foundations are shaking. The things we have depended on to keep us and to sustain us through difficult times are attacked. And that creates the uncertainty, and being in spaces that we're unfamiliar with, having encounters that we didn't know even were possible, having the government respond to ways in which people are being mistreated that we never thought could be happening in our country. So the foundations are shaking. And when the foundations are shaking, it feels like the world is coming in, and that you feel lost. You feel like you can't find your way. And so that's where we are. I mean, in so many ways, and it's compounded not just by the politics. It's the times in which we live are really challenging. The whole changing our mindset from to a computer consciousness, an AI intervention, the changing of how we do things and how we go about and how we handle, compounded with a sociological and spiritualogical dynamic. It's really a challenging time. And I tell you, when I wrote this book, I had no idea that the times would be like they were, because I started this book two years ago.
Oh, wow.
But as I wrote it, and as I got closer to the moment of completing it, it became really obvious to me that it was a gift from God to try to speak to people about not being lost in their circumstances.
Exactly. You write that moments like this build us instead of breaking us. How can people begin to shift their perspective?
Well, I'm a pastor. So for me, what I think, I call people to their spiritual self. I call people into finding that dimension that sustains them in the midst of uncertainty. And the journey of Black people in America has been a journey of uncertainty. But the sustaining thing that has kept them has been, and I probably have no argument against this, that there is the thing which has sustained African Americans in their journey through the last 100 and 200 years has been their faith, their ability to plug into something that is bigger than the existential moment, something that transposes where they are in the moment, something that's dominant, something that they see as more powerful. And that has been, I think, a very important piece that we have to go back and claim. This whole notion of it begins in the Hebrew narrative, where there's this Ark of the Covenant, and the Ark of the Covenant gets them, sustains and reminds them that God is with them. Well, the Black church has been the Ark of the Covenant for Black people, and it has been the sustaining and the custodian of our values, our culture, our gifts, our inspiration and aspirations, and our history. So it is in that context that I invite people to never be lost, because I was on the plane the other day, and I was listening to watching a video. And it was called The Road to Albany, and Lynn, I can't think of her last name, but she's a poet. She's an actress, and she had a line, and it says, "If you have faith in God, you are never lost." And that's where we are. We're at a place where we have to examine our spiritual foundations, the intangibles, because the intangibles sustain us when the tangibles are attacked.
And I think you just answered my next question, because I was going to ask you, what does being never lost actually mean in everyday life?
Yeah. You know, the way I came up with never lost is interesting. In my preparation, I recalled some years ago, I went to a Hertz counter to rent a car. And upon getting in the car, the attendant said to me, well, what would you like to have the new Finder technology? I said, what is that? He said, it's called Never Lost. I said, what is Never Lost? He said, Never Lost is that wherever you are, you can put the plug in and define where you want to go. And this mechanism takes the car and makes the car go where you want it to go. I said, that's exactly what faith in God does. It gives us the capacity to know that we may not know where we are, but God knows where we are. And therefore, if God knows where we are, we're never lost, even when we don't know where we are.
I love it. And thank you to Hertz.
Yeah. Yeah, they get a little plug today.
Right, they get a plug. So how can someone stay grounded when their work, relationships, or direction feels unclear?
Well, there's certain basic things that all of us do in them. And one of them is work harder, be sensitive to the times, bring your best game to the table. Those kind of things are practical responses to a time seems upside down. But the intangible is the ability to sustain faith in something, some God, some person, some spirituality that is beyond the tangible, and to ground yourself, search for your spiritual grounding. Yesterday, I preached a sermon about being able to sustain oneself and have an inner compass, an internal compass that directs us. And what the writer in the text said is that I put all of my presence and all of my power in God by putting, he says, I have taken thy word and deposited it in my heart, hid it in my heart, that I might not sin against thee. Meaning simply that when I keep the spiritual word of God, not just the intellectual, but the spiritual word of God in my heart, I can overcome and I can be sustained, because God's presence, the writer says, the word puts me in a line with God's purpose. And I may not always understand what God is doing, but I know that his purpose is to fulfill his promise.
For someone who feels behind in life, what would you want them to hear in this moment?
I want them to hear that, first of all, that no matter how behind they may feel, that there is hope, and that they must plug into that hope. It'd be well if they could plug in their hope through a faith relationship, but it may not be that they're ready for that. But they are able to plug into hope just in the desire. The desire can be the birth of hope. The desire to be delivered, the desire to be better, the desire to overcome becomes the ground of one's capacity to do it. So you have to first believe it or teach yourself to believe it. Maybe it's not easy for you to believe you're going to overcome, but force it. Force the fact that I believe that whatever I am going through now, I am going to be better, and I'm going to get through it. That begins there. And then when you make that resolve, then you might consider various options to reinforce it: a faith relationship with God, a psychological analysis, reading inspirational materials. Once you make the determination that I have the hope, I'm going to get through this. I am going to get through it. And when you make that decision, then you bring in the other things that reinforce it. Some of the things that bring people to a relationship with God is that they have hope. And hope drives you to the source of power and sustains you in your most difficult hour.
Is there a difference between waiting and being stuck? And how can listeners tell the difference?
Yeah. You know, that is a challenging idea, that waiting and being stuck. Um, I always say that waiting does not have to be docile. It doesn't mean you don't do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting can be very active. Waiting doesn't mean I drop my hands, don't do anything. I work and I wait.
Mm-hmm.
I engage and I wait. So I don't wait for something to say that I'm now working. I don't never stop working. I even work in my despair. I work in my disappointments. But and it may not look, I may not feel or even seem like I'm making progress. But it is that drive that sustains us and makes us wait, but work. Do not give space to workless waiting. Make sure that we use our work, our waiting, as productive time, as anticipation times, as preparation time. The blessing is coming, but maybe I got to start working now so when it comes, I'll be prepared to take advantage of it.
Exactly. I recently read online, and I might mess it up, but I recently read online. It said, "Be like a waiter and serve."
Yes.
Yes,
That's
waiting.
great.
Be like a waiter and serve. So
I got it.
Keep the action going. Keep working.
Yes.
Keep serving. Keep moving.
That's right. That's exactly right.
What's one message from Never Lost you stays with people after this conversation ends?
Well, I would hope that they take away the idea that no matter what is going on in their lives, if they anchor it in a faith, they can endure and they can find their way, or they can be led from their never lostness to a place of finding. And so what I hope that the book does is demonstrates through the experience of the Black church and the faith, and it's not just for Black people, it is for all people. It is for people. The Black church simply becomes an illustration, like the Ark of the Covenant was an illustration of Israel's faithfulness. The Black church is another illustration of God's faith, of a people's faithfulness. And these models of people's faithfulness become inspiration for us to live our lives today. So I hope that when somebody reads this book, they say, if that has sustained the people through 300 years of slavery and torture, and if that has been the custodian of their gifts and their hopes and their dreams and has sustained them into this hour, then maybe I need to find that kind of hook, because I don't want to be hooked into the existential. I mean, to the existential, the immediate, right here and now, because that's always changing. But our faith in God is unchangeable, and God is unchanging, and God is available.
Before we go, what's one small mindset shift a listener can make today to feel more grounded and never lost?
Yes, I think we touched on that, but let me say this, that a person who wants to change their lives and wants to be sustained through the hour is to know that the first place it has to happen is in my heart and in my mind. I'm the first invitee of my liberation, of my prosperity. I must first believe in my prosperity and my possibility, and then trust my faith to deliver it.
Your book is out.
Yes.
It's available on Amazon.com and Barnes and Noble. I know it also will reach major retailers.
Yes.
Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, author of Never Lost, thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Oh, I am so happy to have met you, and I hope you have a blessed week.
Thank you so much. And to everyone listening or watching, this is the Ohh Show with Orlana. Until next time, keep shining. Welcome to the Ohh Show with Orlana, your connection to events, topical interests, issues, and the movers and shakers in our world, and the opportunity to learn things that make you say, oh. When a child is diagnosed with cancer, families face challenges that extend far beyond treatment. the Northwestern Mutual Foundation is working to ease some of those burdens through initiatives like its Childhood Cancer Scholarship Program. Joining me today to discuss this is Steve Radtke, president of the Northwestern Mutual Foundation. Mr. Radtke, welcome to the Ohh Show.
Oh, well, thank you. Good morning.
So let's dive right in. What can you tell us about Northwestern's Mutual's work with childhood cancer?
Sure. And I'll start with something that'll make you say, oh, every day, 1,000 children around the world are diagnosed with cancer. And for over a decade, Northwestern Mutual has been trying to end that. Most of our work revolves around trying to find better treatments and cures for childhood cancers. But we also know that a childhood cancer diagnosis can have an incredible emotional and financial impact on an entire family. In fact, studies show that 60% of families lose household income as a result of a childhood cancer diagnosis. So when you couple that with the rising cost of education, that prompted us to create a childhood cancer scholarship program.
So how does the scholarship program work?
And we're in our 8th year, and we provide college scholarships to those who've been affected by childhood cancer, either survivors themselves or siblings. So, and through this program, we've today provided over 370 scholarships, well, $3 million to help alleviate some of that financial strain. And today we're excited to talk to you because we're opening up applications for next fall school year, where we're going to be awarding an additional $500,000 of scholarships. So 50 students will be eligible to receive up to $10,000 in new scholarships, kind of split between survivors and siblings.
And when you say students, what's the age range?
Yeah, so it's intended for college students, but if it's a sibling or sibling any age dealing with childhood cancer, but again, these are for college scholarship.
And this is available for anyone in the world, correct?
Anyone in the United States.
In the United States, okay. So what impact are you seeing the scholarship program have on students right now?
Yeah, the biggest one of people going through the program that highlight is that it's enabling them to follow their dreams. And one really interesting and surprising thing that we saw is that nearly half of our scholarship recipients so far have pursued careers in healthcare. So whether it's aspiring to be a doctor themselves or a nurse or a researcher, and it's very inspiring to see them trying to follow the footsteps of others and try to help others in their careers. In Northwestern Mutual, we try to find some moments of joy and otherwise be a little bleak space when you're talking about childhood cancer. So whether it's a breakthrough in cancer research or a child being declared cancer-free, we call these golden bolts. And seeing the number of scholars who pursue careers in the medical field has certainly been a golden moment for us.
How many years has this program existed, and where can viewers and listeners go for more information or to apply if they're an eligible student?
Yeah, this is our 8th year of the program. And if your listeners are interested or know someone who's been impacted by childhood cancer, we encourage them to go to the Northwestern Mutual Foundation's website at nmfoundation.com. And our applications are open from now until February 2nd.
Very good. Mr. Steve Radtke, president of the Northwestern Mutual Foundation, thank you so much for sharing this important information with me and my listeners today.
Well, thanks for having me.
And thank you all for tuning in. Until next time, keep shining. Hey everyone, you're listening to the Ohh Show with Orlana, and I wanted to take a moment to inform you about the Shine Awards. The Shine Awards, Shine is spelled with a Y, and is a premier award ceremony that celebrates the accomplishments of young people anywhere in the world between the ages of 13 and 24. The event was birthed in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, to prove a point that young people are doing great things in their communities, in their schools, in their churches, and to celebrate and recognize their positive accomplishments and achievements. Nominations are open now. Simply visit the shineawards.org and cast your nomination. It takes under a minute to nominate a young person. There are several categories. They include the arts, academics, community service, service and ministry, STEM, young adult group participation, leadership, and overcoming obstacles. So if you are a young person between the ages of 13 and 24, or you know someone, this is the opportunity to nominate a young person for this prestigious national award. Again, nominations are open now. The deadline is in March, so don't wait. Take this opportunity now to nominate a young person. This is the 17th year for the Shine Awards, and it is always the first Sunday in August. This year, it'll be held at the Pittsburgh Playhouse, and it includes a red carpet experience as well as the premier award ceremony. So don't delay. It literally takes under a minute to nominate a young person. And one of the things that the organization founders hear most about the Shine Awards from the honorees is that being seen, being recognized, gave them confidence and courage to pursue their dreams. And that's what we want from our young people, right? So again, the shineawards.org. Remember, shine is spelled with a Y. Nominate a young person the day between the ages of 13 and 24. Don't wait. Welcome to the OH Show with Orlana, your connection to events, topical interests, issues, and the movers and shakers in our world, and the opportunity to learn things that make you say, oh. As many women set health goals for the start of the new year, one important issue often gets overlooked: urinary tract health. UTIs affect millions of women every year, and for many, they're not just a one-time problem. Joining me to break down what women need to know to protect their urinary health and feel their best is board-certified OB-GYN and medical advisor at Uqora, Dr. Alyssa Dweck. Dr. Alyssa, welcome to the OH Show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, I asked you if I pronounced your last name correctly. Did I say your first name correctly?
Yes, Alyssa Dweck.
Alyssa.
Yeah.
I was like, it could go either way. So in preparing for the interview, I came across that men can also get UTIs.
This is true.
We hear about this.
Well, even though there are 11 million cases of urinary tract infection per year in the U.S., which is a lot, women hold the majority of those cases. And the reason is sheerly mechanical and anatomic, because women uniquely have a short urethra, about 2 to 3 centimeters, compared to men whose urethras are about 20 centimeters. And the urethra, being the tube that lets urine empty the body, this can be a direct conduit to the bladder for bacteria. So naturally, women with a short urethra may have a higher risk of infection than men. Also, women go through hormone changes, which can predispose to infection as well.
Is there a certain age where a woman would get a UTI more in their life?
Women can actually experience a UTI at any time, even as a child, but surely risk goes up with sexual activity, and it also goes up during times of intense hormone change, for example, during pregnancy and also during menopause.
So for women who get UTIs repeatedly, what does prevention look like beyond just treating infections as they happen?
Yes, and prevention is so important because we're really trying to avoid antibiotic resistance during treatment. So 60% of women will have at least one urinary tract infection in their lifetimes, and many do go on to have a recurrent infection. I always advise adequate hydration daily with water to help flush the urinary tract. Wiping from front to back during toileting, that's very important. Urinating after sex, very important, especially for those who suffer with recurrent infection. And then serious consideration of a supplement with something that contains clinical dosing of whole fruit cranberry, such as that found in Uqora Flush Advance Plus. This works with cranberry and dual action D-mannose to help with short and long-acting prevention of recurrent UTI in healthy women.
So for a woman listening or watching, and they're thinking, well, I've never had a UTI, what symptoms should they look out for?
Well, those of us who have ever had a UTI are all too familiar with these difficult symptoms: urinary frequency, the intense urgency to have to urinate, and of course, pain with urination. So this could be the sign of an acute urinary tract infection, in which case hydration should be started immediately, and initiation of Uqora, for example, the Flush Advance Plus with this clinical dose of cranberry in an effort to flush the system and help with symptoms. And of course, one should check in with their doctor if they have any progressive symptoms like fever or chills, back pain, or of course, blood in the urine.
That's what I was going to ask you. At what point should a woman say, let me consult with my doctor? So when those other symptoms may occur.
Of course.
You mentioned cranberry. We hear a lot about cranberry for urinary health. What does science actually say about that?
Yes, cranberry actually has very good evidence and has been studied extensively, particularly when it's in a clinical dose. And the American Urologic Association recommends cranberry as a preventative measure for recurrent UTI. And the way that it works is that cranberry contains PACs, which is an ingredient that makes the bladder super slippery to bacteria like E. coli, which can invade and colonize the bladder. So if the bladder is more slippery to this bacteria, the risk of infection naturally declines.
Now, what role does Uqora play? Like, should someone take it when they are experiencing a UTI, or is this more of a preventive measure?
It's actually both. So, the Uqora Flush Advance Plus is a new and recently launched product. And the reason it's so helpful for prevention of recurrent UTI in healthy women is because of this clinically proven dual action with both cranberry and D-mannose. So it works both in the long and short term for prevention. We also have Uqora Flush, which was the original product that's been very well received and tolerated by over 800,000 women in past for preventative measures as well. So this is just to optimize urinary health, whereas our newer product is really meant for prevention.
Great. And then you can buy Uqora at any drugstore and online?
You can get it in retail, but it's easy also to get it online at uqora.com. And keep in mind that website has not only product offerings, but also lots of consumer education about urinary health in general, and also a community that's been very helpful.
And if you're listening, it's uqora.com, Uqora.
Yes.
Board certified OB-GYN and medical advisor at Uqora, Dr. Alyssa Dweck.
Thank you
for joining me on the Ohh Show with Orlana.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And thank you all for listening in. Until next time, keep shining.